So what you're looking at is kind of my low-tech setup here, where I tried to make some kind of easel for myself out of a bunch of cardboard, and I have a hole puncher that's propping my sketchbook up. This is a painting that I started at work, and it's based on a photograph that I took of my son as we were traveling one day on the bus. And I'm also doing it on a page that I prepared in my sketchbook. What I had done is I had started a painting. You can see traces of it underneath, and I wasn't happy with it, so I decided to just to do this a casein wash over it, which apparently was just a little too thick. And it didn't, like, I like it when I put a casein wash over on a sheet of paper and it helps absorb the water or the moisture quicker, and I kind of like the way it feels when I drag the gouache over it. But I kind of laid it on thick, probably because I was trying to cover what was underneath it. But that was a mistake. But it didn't hinder me as far as painting this so much. It did make the experience of painting a little less pleasant. But I got through it. I did enjoy making this painting. It was just a little bit rough working on this surface, but like I said, I got through it. So I'm just starting out here. I just grabbed, I had a watercolor pencil, water soluble pencil, and I just kind of just grabbed that to begin drawing and placing the figure on the page. I'm going to try and put some of the other elements as well, to show that he's on a bus, and to try and give an idea. He's right next to a window, which is great because that window, the background of it, which is in a bright summer light, would just help his face to pop out more. So right now I'm going to speed this video up because this is actually took a long time to paint. I started it on my lunch hour at work, but I continued to paint, take it home, paint on it, and so forth, till I arrived at it finished. So it took a while to paint this. So I'm trying to make this a video. Take several hours and make a short video out of this instead of a long drawn out video, but try and include as much as I can about how this painting came about. So anyway, let me speed it up here. Okay, so right now I took out my gouache palette. I'm ready to start painting. My gouache palette is, I have two palettes that I work from. One is what you see here, and it's all dried paints. Gouache you can reactivate, and which is what I do. This is how I've worked with gouache since high school. And I have another one which is kind of like looks like a very, very small ice cube tray, but what it is it has a lid that keeps the colors moist. So what I'm trying to do now is, as I paint, I'm more concerned about covering the entire area with paint or with colors, and I can go ahead and change whatever I put down later, but I want to get the paint down so that later on I have paint to move around and manipulate as I build my image. And also, you know, I'm starting to draw a bit with the paint as I go down. It's just not random color or anything like that. But I start to put down color as a foundation for what's going to come later. So this is my first wash over the whole thing, and it pretty much establishes the image that I'm going to be working on as far as the color is concerned. So once all that is done, I got all this preliminary wash down, I can start going back into it and get a little bit more involved in the painting of the image and just make it a bit more clear, which is what I'm doing here. Just correcting drawing and so forth, and all of this is going to continue to be painted over. Nothing is definite, and at this stage I'm also trying to figure out how I'm going to render all of this in paint, so I'm building it up slowly because I don't exactly know I have an idea of how to paint, but I'm not sure exactly where everything is going to go, as far as like some areas, how detailed am I going to get, or there's lettering on his shirt, am I going to put that lettering in? How much of the wrinkles on his sleeve am I going to put in? How much am I going to suggest? All of this, I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I'm kind of feeling this painting as I go along, and just trying to, but I'm trying to prepare the surface. I'm trying to prepare the surface to receive more paint, and two, to have enough paint to start pushing things around. One of my habits is that I begin to render, and I really don't want to render. I don't want to put in a lot of details. I'm trying to get away from it and put less and less details and trying to suggest more. At one point I did this more than I did before, and I kind of want to get back to that. There was a point in time where I had stopped painting for a while. I guess I was disappointed, had a point in time where I was kind of just giving up, and then I just found out that I just really couldn't, whether I'm good at this or I'm bad at this. I really had to keep going because I enjoyed it, because it was a part of me, and because I really did want to get better at doing this. But before I had dropped off of painting for a while, I was there were times where I was a little bit more confident of what I was able to do than I am now. Maybe at looking back, I might look at my work differently. It's been a while since I looked at the stuff that I had, and a lot of it didn't survive, to be honest. So I don't have a good sample size to compare it to. But I do know that there was a point in time where I was more comfortable with suggesting things than I am now. I think the more I try to render or solve things by just rendering things, for me, it's just like I'm not comfortable with the simple statement, in which is what I'm trying to get back to. So anyway, like I said, I'm seeing how I'm going to do this here, and let me go right ahead and continue to speed this video up, so that because the process is long, and like I said, I'm trying to shorten this video, these many hours I spent on this painting. Okay, so this is a different day, and I have a better easel, a real easel or a little box easel that I carry with me to work for when I do paint on my breaks or I draw on my breaks, which is every day. And I'm just coming in close and working on his face now. Now, when my son was sitting across from me and I took this photo of him, he was kind of off, looking off to the side and thinking about something. And I noticed that also he was biting his lip on his right side, and so I wanted to try and get that in. It was, you know, to give it a little bit of life, I guess, to rather than just a straightforward him just looking into space or whatever. It gives a little bit more of a sense of life, like he's thinking, he's doing, you know, he's biting his lip, and it makes it adds something to it for me. So and I'm trying not to go too light over on his left side, where, you know, the light from the window is coming in, from the window behind him is coming in, because I want to paint that window as bright as possible. One, to show a difference between the outside and the inside. Now, with gouache, you know, it with oils it's a lot easier to do than with gouache. At least I find it. But I'm trying to get a different lighting on the inside of the bus than there is on the outside of the bus. Even though that light is flooding in from what's outside, it was a very bright summer day when we were riding the bus together. So again, I'm just working more on the face, pushing paint around. Sometimes I push the paint around with water. Sometimes I'm just adding more paint. And also I'm trying to set I paint all around the area before I put in the glasses, because with gouache, since it's opaque paint, I can put these glasses in on top of what I have underneath. I don't have to just paint them in and then work around them. But I'm trying to prepare the area for putting on those glasses. It's pretty much the way I paint everything on here before I go into rendering the nose or the lips or the eyes. I try and prepare the area around it. Like I suggest it lightly, and I work around the areas where say the eyes, where the eyes are going to be dropped in. But instead of painting the pupil, I work on painting the tones and the values around it, and then painting, you know, the eyelids and the both above and underneath. And then once I have all of that painted in, I drop the eye in there, you know, and like in the same way I did prepare the area for these glasses. Like I painted, I worked on the eyes, like I said, and now that I painted this area around and prepared it, I can fit the glasses right in there, or the frames of the glasses right in there, and they it works out a lot better than if I would have just went ahead and just painted these glasses and then worked around it. So before I get carried away with the figure, the face, and the rest of his body and so forth, I want to make sure to include the background. The background is definitely a part of the painting, and it has its effect on the figure or the main part of the painting. So I want to make sure that I include this background as I'm developing the image, because I don't want to. It's harder to find the appropriate color or value for the background, even if I'm working from a photo, which I am here, and once I've rendered the entire image, it's better for me to paint all these things at once, because my color choices and my value choices in the background would affect the image. And if I do it simultaneously, or doing it as building one up as well as the other, I can see the effect that it has on the figure on the figure as I paint, and I can make whatever changes I need to accordingly, rather than having to have finished the figure, then add the background, and realize that I need to make some changes in the figure because of the background. So anyway, that's how I'm working this in. I'm trying to get I trying to have some fun here with all of these wrinkles in his shirt. Well, not wrinkles, but just well, yeah, they are wrinkles. And at the same time, I'm trying to simplify it, not do too much. Trying to keep the values to maybe 3 or 4 or whatever, as far as his shirt is concerned, or his hoodie, and also trying to organize the wrinkles. Now it's funny because he lost a lot of weight, and his pants are very, very baggy on him, and I'm trying to work that in without making it look ridiculous. So that's the reason why his pants are so big. But again, working on the wrinkles in the shirt. And I like this. It's a lot of fun. What I like also is that when I eventually work it in, it's going to have, like, on his left side, the light coming in from the window is going to help highlight a lot of those wrinkles, and help me to simplify them as I go along. Okay, so right now I'm working from home. I decided that this painting is taking a while for me to finish, and in order for me to get this done, I'm going to need to work on it some more. And you can see I've built up the sleeves, like I said. I put in more of the background, which still needs a lot of work. But the whole painting needs a lot of work. Now the lighting's a little bit different at home than it was at work, so the painting might look different because of that. But it's the same painting that I've had before, and I'll show the finished product once this video is done, of course. But I want to continue, like I said, to work at home. And it's good because I have a lot more stuff to work with, a lot more brushes, like this a larger brush that I'm using here, and I'm going to correct the background a bit here. Also wasn't sure whether or not I was going to put the yellow pole beside him. I took some water and basically with a rag and took out the paint on that line you see on the left hand side to include the pole, and I'm correcting the drawing here for that little piece of the bus. I don't know what it is, but it's a part of the bus. It was a big bus that we were on, and he was right at the center of the bus, where the bus kind of like sometimes when it makes a turn, it jackknives, because it's at the center of the bus, and it's one of those very, very long city buses. But I needed to change how this thing was sitting on the page. Which is what I'm doing here. I'm trying to pay more attention to the background and just not throw it away. Still working on the painting at home, but you can see by the shift at the camera angle that this is another session, another day. And I had taken the background a bit further, you see, in just cleaning it up, and I decided to, well, I had already decided to put that yellow pole in there, but not to make too much of a big deal out of it, as well as really starting to put in the background. I want to get the idea that the day is really brightly lit and flooded with light outside, which it was. It was a very, very bright day, and also the idea that there are maybe buildings we're passing by. Without getting into so much detail, I want to just suggest a door, suggest a window, but everything to be brightly lit, so that but without, like I said, getting into so much distracting detail in the background, especially since it's right close to his face. and to leave that very bright white against his head, it's framed between that bright white light and the dark behind him, which I think would make him pop out a bit more. So in one sense you have a silhouette, and the other sense you have this light, which is this lighter area in his head popping out from the dark background as well, which I kind of like. So I'm just trying to develop that background that way. So at the very end, I decided that it would actually benefit the painting if I put in the words. Now, if I hadn't put in the lettering on his shirt, I'm guessing everyone would pretty much assume that he's just wearing a plain blue hoodie and not think any more of it. But by putting them in, it's just I thought it would make the painting look more interesting, and I thought it would be fun to do. So I'm just going ahead and doing that now. Now with gouache, like I said before, since it's opaque, I can just simply paint on top of what I have underneath once it's dry. And I'm trying to use a lot more paint than water here, so I'm not lifting up the paint underneath. But as long as I work rapidly, and as long as I paint with a lot more paint than water, then it's not really a problem. So, but anyway, let me go ahead and I started doing this. It's a little bit tricky, but it's fun to do. And then let's see how it looked once I finished putting in all this lettering. So here's the finished painting, and like I said, one of the things that I wanted to indicate in here is just a difference in the lighting from the inside of the bus to what you see on the outside of the bus. I kind of like that contrast, as well as having his face on one side. You see the brightness of the background or the outside of the bus on a very bright summer day, and then you have the darkness of the wall of the bus on the other side of his head. So on one side you have his head is a silhouette against the light, and on the other side his the light kind of it's another silhouette as well, but instead there's the lightness of his head against the darkness of the background. So like I said, I was pretty happy with this painting. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and that you got something from it. Definitely leave comments or questions in regards to gouache and and so forth, whatever you can think of. Definitely appreciate you guys here on YouTube, and if you haven't, subscribe. If you like the video, share it with a friend who is also interested in painting. So until my next video, I see you guys soon. Bye bye.